lost sight of it at Auschwitz. I couldn't see my church there. I wonder if seeing the papal cross there would have made a comfort in me. But I need to learn more of my church's identity during the Holocaust, as a beacon of safety and love, as it should always be, rather than a bystander watching a whole people being murdered. And yet I felt an anger I never felt before, or at least in a long time, asking that question, listening to the answer. I could barely talk. I felt such rage, not at God, but at my church. At my church. At the entity, at the institution. I felt so angry toward the Catholic Church. Religion is flawed because man is flawed, yes. But how could the most holy and loving institution on earth just stand by and watch?
Tomek talked a lot about efficiency. That word has been ruined for me. To be efficient, to be cold, to be heartless, to be mechanical, to be inhumane. What does this all mean? How do we find humanity in efficiency? How does anyone strive to become an efficient killer? The mechanical aspect of it all scares me.
Every genocide begins with words of hatred being spoken, and usually no one says anything.
It's difficult to talk about the Holocaust without talking about who's at fault. The German people, the Nazis, the Poles, the rest of the world. People stood in silence. Friends, neighbors, co-workers, strangers. Perhaps in fear of their lives, for the lives of their families, or just to keep the relative peace in one's life. People allowed Jews to be rounded up like cattle and to be killed.
In Auschwitz, the things that stuck out. The hair, the children's shoes, the baby clothing. Life how it was, videos of life pre-war. The fact that there was an orchestra upon entering the camp. The beauty at the memorial site, the 4 gravestones. The book of names of people killed. Walking back to the entrance of Birkenau alone. The feeling of inability to comprehend the number of people that died at Auschwitz. The silence of the camp. My Donnic doesn't have the same ring to it like Auschwitz does. However, unlike Auschwitz, there is a massive pile of ash right next to the infamous trenches. Human ash. Hundreds of thousands of pounds of human ash. The human ash is held in a sort of urn, a massive, mind-boggling urn. On that day, the largest massacre of the Holocaust took place in my Donnic.
Many of them never got a why answer as to why they survived and the rest of their families went immediately to the gas chambers.
Hearing about the Holocaust and other human atrocities makes my heart feel raw. There are 3 options of how I can treat my heart. I can let it harden, I can let it be pulverized, or I can guard it with my eyes and my hands. I'm learning to choose the latter.
Standing on the train tracks of Birkenau, the crossroads of life and death, behind me stands a monument to the dead and the rubble of crematoria, and the ashes of countless souls. Behind me is death, and hundreds of thousands of people walked behind me to their deaths. In front of me is the entrance to the camp, and I get to walk out.
Not once in Hebrew school or school did I learn about the huge amount of Polish suffering during the Holocaust and World War II. The concentration camps were originally open for Polish political prisoners, and hundreds of thousands were murdered in the camps. I never learned about the Warsaw Uprising, the heroic yet fatal event in which hundreds perished in the sewers, and more underground, creating mounds on which the destroyed city of Warsaw was rebuilt upon.
You look at the pile of ash and see how tragic it was. But then you think about the lives that they led, and realize that they were real people.
I wouldn't want someone to remember my life by only focusing on the end of it. And this is what we do with Polish Jews. We don't look at the whole story from before 1939.
Telling the same history is really important, and I think that all of the involved nations and countries have to meet and figure out how they can tell the exact same Holocaust. This way, everyone can be on the same page, and discussions will be able to start.
While remembering the millions of Jews who can be found in my roots, I will also remember the millions of Poles ruthlessly murdered in the Holocaust. I refuse to be part of the group that competes over who suffered more. Lives are lives, and I am so sorry and so angry that any of them were taken away from us.
The more I learn about the Jewish culture, down to its most basic roots, the more I truly come to see how much was destroyed. All the unique individuals with their own lives, their own possessions, their own hopes, their own joys, their own emotions. I can't let myself leave sight of that all, of all those people.
Tonight we talked about the burden of responsibility that we have after this trip, and I just don't know what to do. And even if I do, how do I put into words everything I have learned and seen here?
We're living under the assumption that education makes us better people. Not so. It's morality. Higher education can actually make people better killers.
I get to walk out of a space meant for death. I get to walk out of a place with no conscience. I have to walk out of Birkenau to share the crucial messages entombed there. I have to share conscience. There is a huge burden on my shoulders. This is a burden I get to share with my students, my friends, and my family. The burden is to educate and understand the importance of the Holocaust. The burden is also to share the importance of conscience. The burden is weighty, but the burden is mine because I get to walk out.